Sometimes people do not leave with slammed doors or loud arguments. Sometimes they stay silent, they stay invisible, and when they finally stop caring, the house remembers what the heart endured. So ask yourself, how long can someone stand beside you before they disappear forever? The house used to breathe, not loudly, not warmly, but it breathed. Now it only waited. Mark noticed it the moment he stepped inside. The air felt stretched, thin, like it had been pulled too far and never returned to shape. The door closed behind him. The sound lingered longer than usual. A dull thud followed by silence that pressed against his ears. He stood still, keys heavy in his hand, shoes still on his feet, listening. Nothing answered. No footsteps, no voice from the kitchen, no soft hum of movement from another room. Just the faint ticking of the wall clock, slow, deliberate, almost judgmental. Mark exhaled through his nose. Another long day, another quiet evening. He loosened his tie and tossed it on the chair. The chair did not scrape like it usually did. Someone had pushed it in neatly, too neatly. The living room looked clean, cleaner than it ever had before. The couch pillows were aligned. The table surface was empty. No magazines, no half-finished cup of tea, no sign of interruption. Mark frowned. This felt staged, like a room prepared for inspection. He walked toward the kitchen. The light was on, bright, almost harsh. The counter was spotless. No dishes drying, no cutting board. No familiar mess. The refrigerator hummed softly. Mark opened it. Empty, not forgotten. Empty, not neglected. Empty, removed. Empty. Only one bottle of water sat in the center shelf, placed carefully, like it was meant to be noticed. Mark shut the door. His stomach tightened. Not hunger, unease. He checked the time. Still early. She should have been home. She always was. He told himself she went out. A walk, a visit, something normal. He sat on the couch and turned on the television. Voices filled the room. Laughter, music, noise. But the sound felt wrong. Too loud. Too forced. Like it was trying to cover something underneath. Mark glanced toward the hallway. The darkness there looked thicker than the rest of the house, as if light stopped before entering. He looked away. He had work to finish. Later that night, Mark lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. The room smelled different. No perfume, no familiar warmth. Just clean fabric and cold air. The other side of the bed was untouched, too smooth, like it had not been slept in for days. Mark turned on his side, facing the wall. He closed his eyes. Sleep came slowly, not peacefully. The house made small sounds, a faint creak, a soft shift. Something brushing against something else. Mark told himself it was settling wood, old pipes, normal sounds, but the noises followed a rhythm, measured, intentional, like footsteps trying not to be heard. Mark opened his eyes. The room was dark, but not completely. Moonlight slipped through the curtains. It touched the floor, stopped near the door. The door was open. Mark was sure he had closed it. His heartbeat grew louder in his chest. He listened. The sound came again, soft. Fabric against skin, a presence passing by the doorway. Mark held his breath. Seconds passed. Nothing else happened. Morning arrived without relief. Sunlight revealed the same untouched room. The door stood wide open. Mark sat up. A chill ran along his arms. He checked the hallway. Empty. The mirror at the end of the hall caught his reflection. He looked tired, older. The mirror had been moved. It used to face the wall slightly. Now it faced directly down the hall, facing the bedroom. Facing him. Mark stared at it longer than necessary. Something about the reflection felt delayed. He shook his head and went to work. The day dragged. Numbers blurred. Voices faded in and out. His phone stayed silent. No messages, no missed calls. When he returned home, the house greeted him the same way. Still, clean, empty. Days passed like this. 1 became 3. 3 became 7. She never returned. Her shoes remained by the door. Her coat still hung in the closet, but her presence was gone. The house adapted. It learned his habits. Lights turned on where he walked. Doors stayed open behind him. The mirror always reflected him, no matter where he stood. One evening, Mark noticed something new. A box sat on the dining table, plain cardboard, no label, no tape. It had not been there in the morning. He stood over it. The room felt colder. He opened the box. Photographs stared back at him, dozens of them. Him eating, him sleeping, him sitting alone at the table, taken from inside the house, taken without his knowledge. His hands trembled as he flipped through them. Every photo showed the same thing, him alone. At the bottom lay a folded paper. He unfolded it slowly. The handwriting was neat, careful, unemotional. It read, it. I practiced being invisible for years. Mark dropped the paper. The house creaked in response, as if it heard him, as if it approved. That night, the mirror changed again. Scratches appeared along the edges. Shallow, fresh. Mark touched the glass. Cold, too cold. A reflection smiled back at him. Not his. Not entirely. The lights flickered. The house breathed. And somewhere in the walls, something that had stopped caring began to move. Mark did not sleep that night. The mirror kept him awake, not because it moved, not because it spoke, but because it watched. Even when he turned away, he felt it, a pressure between the shoulders, like eyes resting on skin, waiting, judging, and judging, and judging. The house settled around him. Wood creaked, pipes sighed, walls stretched with soft groans. None of it felt random anymore. Every sound felt placed, timed, intentional. At some point, Mark stood up. Bare feet touched the cold floor. The chill traveled upward slowly, deliberately. Compa chain japically a time to tain. As if the house wanted him to feel every inch of it. He walked into the hallway. The mirror reflected him instantly. No delay now. Too accurate. Too present. His face looked sharper in the glass. Eyes darker. Mouth thinner. Someone had wiped the mirror clean. Not a fingerprint remained. Mark whispered her name. The sound died before reaching the walls. No echo, no response. He leaned closer to the glass. His breath fogged the surface. The reflection breathed back, in sync, perfectly. Mark stepped back. The reflection did not. It lingered a fraction longer than it should have. Then it corrected itself. Morning arrived like an accusation. Bright, unforgiving. The house looked normal in daylight, too normal. That made it worse. Mark showered. The water felt lukewarm no matter how he adjusted it. Like the heat refused to stay. He dressed quickly and left. He did not look at the mirror. At work, his focus collapsed. He reread the same email over and over. Words refused to stay in order. His phone buzzed once. Unknown number. No message followed. When he called it back, the line stayed silent, open, listening. He hung up. By the time Mark returned home, the sun was low. The porch light turned on by itself. The door was unlocked. He froze. His heartbeat thudded loud enough to fill the hallway. Inside, the house smelled faintly of soap, the kind she used, the kind he never noticed before. The dining table was set, 2 plates, 2 glasses. No food, just arrangement. Just expectation. Mark backed away. His heel bumped into something. A chair pulled out, waiting. A sound came from the kitchen. A drawer sliding closed. Slow, controlled. Mark swallowed hard. He stepped forward despite himself. The kitchen stood empty. The drawer was shut. The counter gleamed. A single knife lay beside the sink. Clean. Dry, placed with care. The hallway mirror reflected all of it, from an angle that should not have been possible. Mark felt dizzy. He grabbed the counter to steady himself. The reflection did the same, but its hand pressed flat against the glass, palm outward, as if separating 2 worlds. A voice filled the kitchen. Not loud. Not soft. Certain. I learned how to be quiet so you could stay comfortable. Mark spun around. Nothing stood behind him. The voice came from everywhere. Walls, ceiling, the space between breaths. I learned how to shrink myself until I fit into your silence. Mark covered his ears. The words continued. Unbothered. You never noticed when I disappeared a little more each day. The lights flickered. The knife slid an inch across the counter by itself. Mark stumbled backward. His foot caught the rug. He fell hard. The impact knocked the air from his lungs. The house groaned in response, like satisfaction. The mirror darkened. The reflection stepped forward, out of the glass, not fully formed, edges blurred, features familiar but hollow. It wore her shape, but not her warmth, not her hesitation, not her need. Mark crawled backward. Tears blurred his vision. He tried to speak. No sound came out. The figure stopped a few feet away, close enough for him to smell soap, clean fabric, absence. I stopped asking. Her voice came from the shape, calm, flat. I stopped hoping. The figure looked down at him. You trained me well. The hallway stretched, longer than it should have been. The mirror behind her cracked slowly. Each fracture spread like veins. I stopped caring. The cracks glowed faintly. The house leaned inward. Walls bowed. Ceiling lowered. Mark screamed then. The sound bounced once, then vanished. Morning light spilled into the house. The dining table stood untouched. No plates, no glasses, no knife. The house looked empty again. Neighbors later said they heard something that night, not a scream, not a fight, more like a long breath leaving a body. Mark never showed up for work again. His phone stayed powered on, always connected, always silent. The house went on the market weeks later. It sold quickly, too quickly, too quickly. The new owners praised how clean it felt, how quiet, how peaceful. They never noticed the mirror at the end of the hall. They never noticed how it reflected more than it should. And sometimes late at night, when the house grew still, a woman stood in the glass, watching, unbothered, finally at peace. The house learned how to stay quiet, not empty, not abandoned. Quiet. Days passed without footsteps, without voices, without interruption. Sunlight moved across the floors uninterrupted. Dust settled where nothing disturbed it. The mirror remained clean, uncracked, patient. People came to inspect the house. Realtors, buyers, buyers. Curious strangers. They walked through the room slowly. They spoke in low tones. They smiled. They said the house felt calm, balanced, like it had finished something important. No one asked about the missing man. No one noticed the faint indentation on the bed. No one questioned why the hallway mirror reflected a fraction longer than it should. The house was sold. A couple moved in. New furniture, new habits, new sounds. The walls adjusted. The floors memorized footsteps again. The house allowed it. At first, the woman of the couple liked the mirror. She paused in front of it often, adjusted her hair, straightened her clothes. Sometimes she frowned. She said her reflection looked tired. Her husband laughed, said she worried too much. He walked past her without slowing. Days passed, then weeks. The house listened. Plates clinked, chairs moved, voices overlapped. Then gradually, one voice softened, one voice waited, one voice learned to pause before speaking. The mirror reflected it all. Late one night, the woman stood in the hallway alone. The house was still. Her husband sat in another room, focused, distracted, unreachable. She looked into the mirror. Her reflection looked back, clear, sharp, watching. For a moment, she thought she saw someone standing behind her. A shape, calm, set in. She blinked. The hallway was empty, but the feeling remained. Not fear, understanding. The mirror shimmered faintly, not threatening, not warning, teaching. Somewhere deep in the house, something shifted, not violently, not loudly, but decisively. The woman stepped away from the mirror. She did not call out, she did not sigh, she did not explain herself. She simply turned and walked toward the door. The house watched, approved. The mirror reflected only one figure now, standing alone, unaware, still scrolling, still ignoring. The house remained quiet after that, but not empty, never empty, because walls remember. Mirrors remember more, and some people never leave. They simply stop caring. The house never screamed. It never chased. It never begged for attention. It simply remembered. Remembered every silence, every ignored glance, every moment someone stood beside another and felt unseen. Some people leave loudly, some leave quietly, and some never leave at all. They stay in the walls, they stay in the mirrors. They stay in the spaces where care once lived, because when someone stops caring, they do not disappear. They become part of the house, and the house never forgets.